clinic thriving.
17 new patients? Nice. Is this next month's calendar?
But he needs another dentist to give his schedule a good cleaning.
This is this week? You're kidding. Oh, you're not.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
Did you know that suicide ranks among the top 10 causes of death in the U.S.? Dr. Eric Kane is co-director of the Center for the Study of Prevention of Suicide at the University of Rochester Medical Center.
Most suicide in the United States is from firearms. There was some increase in recent years in firearm suicide. There was a bigger increase in hanging and overdoses. A second issue that we have to look at, we know that a lot of people in the middle years have drinking and drug problems. So many of the women in the middle years who die by suicide have smoldering, long-lasting substance use problems, a lot of times with prescribed opiates. We have to think about how do we have a better sense of helping people who have drug habits. And of course, the most problematic substance in some ways is alcohol.
For help, call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number 1-800-273-8255. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
It's not magic that will deliver 1 billion packages to homes across the country this holiday. It's the United States Postal Service. And we don't need a team of reindeer to do it because we've added more vehicles to our fleet. And while we don't come down your chimney, we can pick up presents for you and yours. So if making more holiday deliveries to homes in the U.S. than anyone else seems like magic, that means we're doing our job. Share the magic at USPS.com/helpers.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. I'm a speed bump. Did you hear what I said? I'm a speed bump. And if you have cut-rate car insurance, the cost to reattach your muffler could really be a bump in the road. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage and limits selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Bar and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
I love hearing that song. It's so funny. I just wrapped up doing the Joan Esposito live local and progressive show. I'll be sitting in for Joan again tomorrow. And if you hear my voice being, I'm a little giddy. Something unique is about to happen because I've never been in the situation where I'm going to talk to a candidate that I ran against, Joe Duplechin. Am I saying that right now, Joe?
Yes, you are. Thank you, Katie.
Joe Duplechin joins me in studio. He's a veteran, a police officer, a former candidate for both the 39th Ward Alderman and 19th District State Rep. So a lot of experience with what it's like to run for office. And we want to find out more about him, why he ran for office, what his plans are. Before we start our conversation, I have some holdover. I have a caller who was joining our conversation with Representative Stephanie Kifowit, which is also important to our conversation, Joe. Brian, I apologize that I couldn't get back to you while I was on the air because I was already over on all my segments. So please do continue your thoughts, Brian.
Okay, thank you, Patty. Well, I just, in the context of a democratic society, the guest you had on is certainly entitled to her opinions. I just don't happen to agree with them. Mm-hmm. And I would want to say that I think what we need is a massive, peaceful marches over ending voter suppression and for civil rights, and also for economic rights and climate change. And also, I think we need to have Franklin Delano Roosevelt's Economic Bill of Rights foremost in our minds. He said that over the radio in 1944. He died in April of 45, and he wanted to complete this New Deal. May I have 30 seconds to read them, please?
Oh, no, I don't think I can do that. Because you told me you wanted some time to read something before, and I got in trouble with the station. So I understand.
This was from Franklin Roosevelt, president. He was President of the United States until his death, and he saved the country with his New Deal in the 1930s. You remember that?
Of course.
And it's only 8 points. May I please read them?
All right. You know what? It actually will dovetail into something I'll talk to Joe about in a moment. So read the 8 points for us, Brian.
Okay. Franklin Delano Roosevelt's Economic Bill of Rights, 1944. 1. The right to a useful and remunerative job in the industries or shops or farms of the nation. 2. The right to earn enough to provide adequate food and clothing and recreation. 3. The right of every farmer to raise and sell his products at a return which will give him a decent living. 4. The right of every businessman, large and small, to trade in an atmosphere of freedom from unfair competition and domination by monopolies at home or abroad. 5. The right of every family to a decent home. 6. The right to adequate medical care and the opportunity to achieve and enjoy good health. 7. The right to adequate protection from the economic fears of old age, sickness, accident, and unemployment. 8. The right to a good education. He never got that passed into law. He wanted to, but if this Bill of Rights was or could be passed into law, it would change attitudes. There would still be rich people, but there would be no poor. People would feel more creative, and they would feel their work is appreciated. And I think that people of all races and both sexes would agree on this.
I think that you're right. I think that's everything that should be the Democratic platform. So thank you for. I apologize and rescind I'm going to wait on that. So thank you so much for reading that to us, Brian. I think we do need to be reminded of what we stand for, and it's everything on that list. And there's obviously more when it comes to reproductive rights and climate. You know, all of those things are involved. So thank you, Brian. Thank you for being patient.
Thank you so much, Patty.
Of course. Yeah, and the reason I said that dovetails into my conversation with our guest, Joe Duplechin, is that you and I were beneficiaries of a lot of what happened during the New Deal, in particular our high school. Everything that we saw every single day in those hallways, those murals and the carvings in our library, those were all part of the WPA.
Right. I can't remember the specifics, but I know it was when they put artists to work that were out of work, and they made these beautiful pictures all throughout the school, and we were definitely able to enjoy those.
Exactly. Joe, where did you grow up?
I grew up north side of Chicago. We moved around quite a bit, so it was many different. Well, most of the time, northwest side of Chicago.
And what are some of your memories? Like for me, I grew up in Norwood. I had a little bit more stability. I mean, I grew up in we first started at we were at Elston, and we were at like Elston and Montrose, so the Mayfair area, and we had to move for a variety of for one specific reason. But so like you, I grew up on the northwest side, not necessarily what people Isn't it weird when people make assumptions about you? They think, oh, you must have had, like, they don't imagine what some people's hard childhoods can be like. And you've done a lot and still continue. You've carried a lot of weight with you, but you always want to help people. That's my sense from you.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, I think that is one of my driving goals. I try to make it so I can help people. Do I always get it right? No, but at least I try, and I think that that has been a driving goal in my life since I can remember, you know.
And when you went to Lane, so what do you remember first about, like, what's your first memory of being at Lane? Can you lock into something like, because I remember standing on the front lawn going, this is a lot of people.
It was huge, yeah, absolutely. I remember all my friends went to Lakeview, and I got into Lane. Lakeview was a much different school back then, but that was our neighborhood school. I got into Lane, so, you know, my first memory, I was just thinking about this the other day, actually, is I went there, and I just kind of linked up with a few people, and it was, you know, I had never met anybody that, like, a person of my age when I was then maybe 14 or 13, who was Jewish, and we immediately met this guy that was Jewish, and I had all these, like, preconceived notions about him, and I remember me and there was like 3 or 4 of us, and we all were asking this guy these random questions about, you know, Jewish lifestyle, or he's like,
culture, right?
Yeah, culture and all that. Yeah. He's like, I'm just a regular guy, man. Why are you guys asking me all this stuff? So then it just dawned on me that
you had never met anybody.
No, yeah.
Well, and that's the Northwest Side is, you know, kind of its own island unto itself. I mean, I grew up in Norwood, where my mom and I were the 0.8% Latinos in the community.
Really, yeah.
So it was very. I mean, I remember having people ask me, like, had a second grade friend who called my house, and when my mom answered, they said, "I didn't know you had a maid," because that was their only understanding of what a Spanish accent meant at that. You know what I mean? So I could see going to Lane, because you really are in this sea of humanity of people that we never had. And that's what made Lane as a magnet school so great, wasn't it?
Absolutely, it was. It was the fact that it was so diverse. I mean, I had gone to school, in Chicago public schools back then, but Lane was a different story as far as diversity, and I was exposed to so many different ideas, so many different people, so many different, cultures, and they had, International Day. I still remember that. It was just a good thing to be a part of at that time, especially when I was so young and forming opinions about, or readjusting opinions that were preconceived possibly. I'm very, very glad that I went to Lane Tech.
It's a great school. We are hanging out with Joe Duplechin. He and I ran against. It's weird to say we ran against each other. I remember when I was talking to now Mayor Biss of Evanston. He goes, "Oh, so you're running against Lindsay?" And I said, "Well, I'm running for the neighborhood." So I don't think of having run against you. I think of having competed with you more. Don't you think?
Absolutely, and that's how I see it. All of them, and that's the way I try not to be. Take everything so personal. That's what I tried to do.
Well, that was the kind of craziness of it all. Was that, I mean, I guess I came from it at the wrong. Maybe if I had thought of it as running against somebody, I would have been prepared for how it turned out. You know what I mean? As far as like the viciousness of it, because I've had people tell me, "Oh, well, that's what happens when you get into the political arena," almost as though we were asking for it. Do you feel like you were asking for the maliciousness?
I don't think that anybody's asking for that, especially like novice. I had a little more experience than you, so I knew, and I had some advisors that, said, "Hey, you got to do something negative." So I try to make it as least, because, as far as comparisons, about policy comparisons, so. I always felt so bad about doing these comparisons. I even apologized to everybody, like, "Man, I'm so sorry I did that." And they're like, "Oh, okay." As long as you... But I felt bad, like, saying these things that were actually, true, but framing in them a way where it villainizes somebody for just being themselves or living their life or stating their opinions, because the polls say that this will help bring down and get, I just never liked that, but it's part of politics, but I mean, to an extent, some of it is definitely too much.
Well, and that's why I'm so loud about it, is that it's that people say it's politics, and that's what continues to lower the bar and keeps other people from wanting to run, and that's why I'm so loud about it. We are hanging out in studio with Joe Duplechin, and it's so funny to be in this room, because 2 years ago I got a text from Joe, and so I'm going to talk about that when we come back. Some of the things that happened that you and I've never talked about, because this is 2 years from when we turned in our signatures, our petitions, when we were in Springfield, and it's just you are the good guy. You're the nice guy, and I'll talk a little bit more.
Depends on who you ask, I guess.
Yeah, right? If you're looking at a mailer, apparently he's got a phone cord somewhere. 773-763-9278. That's what Lindsay LaPointe said anyway. More in a moment. Even worse, I am. More in a moment on WCPT 820. You can give us a call if you want, 773-763-9278.
This is the sound of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, saving you money and energy while helping you lower your carbon footprint. With discounts on Energy Star certified LED bulbs, so you can come back to a home full of savings. Learn more at ComEd.com/lighting. ComEd, powering lives.
If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Tom, retired, Social Security income, $30,000, with over $2 million in retirement assets in the bank. Tom contacted 3 banks to refinance and purchase a second home in Florida, and they all told him he didn't qualify. So he called Team Hochberg. We helped Tom refinance and purchase a new home in Florida with an asset depletion loan based off his retirement assets. Let's review. Before calling, Tom was told by 3 banks he couldn't refinance or purchase a new home. After calling Team Hochberg, Tom refinanced his current home and purchased a new home in Florida. Team Hochberg has helped thousands of radio listeners use their retirement assets to refinance their existing homes and purchase new homes, like we helped Tom. But we can't help if you don't call 855-56-DAVID or visit 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Homeside Financial, Equal Housing Lender, and MLS 112-4061.
My friend Marty, he wants to split the party. He wants blue folks in red states to vote green. I can see his point, though I really gotta say, no, we can't have another 2016. It seems nothing beats orange, nothing even freaking rhymes with it.
You are listening
What's
to
the matter?
Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez. I'm your host, and joining me in studio is former candidate for the 39th Ward Alderman and 19th District State Rep seats. It's weird. Is it weird to, because I don't often say I'm a former candidate, so I'm only saying that to give a context for our conversation about running for office and what brought us into this campaign. Is it weird to be called former candidate?
I don't. It doesn't bother me, but
it doesn't bother me either.
Something I really don't think about too much.
Yeah, because I'll hear people introduced that way. I'm like, I don't know if I would put the former candidate means not elected.
Right.
It's like not successful.
Here's the loser. Right.
Exactly. So, Joe, we were talking a little bit about your background. You grew up on the Northwest Side like I did. You went to Lane Tech. You also, I took the ASVAB when I was 17. I wanted to join the National Guard, but my mom took me out to lunch, and I'll never forget, we were at that restaurant in Harwood Heights on Harlem, and she just begged me not to go. I know that you didn't join the Army right out of high school, but you had a different path, and you've had a lot of life experiences. And I know one of the things that you've done is you're a carpenter, and one is that's got a. Does your wife always expect you to like fix every door jamb, every hinge?
See, here's the issue with that, Patty.
Yes.
I wish you hadn't brought it up, because as a carpenter, I believe I can do everything, from everything you can even imagine. So I have, many projects going on at the same time. Which, it can be a topic from time to time. It's like, you're a carpenter, how come you can do something so nice for someone else? But,
so you've got tarps everywhere.
Yeah,
you start a project, it's hard to finish. Well, you're also very busy, but you have been involved in the Carpenters Union, and you wanted to mention, you wanted to respond also to some of what Brian, our friend from Joliet, was talking about with the New Deal.
The New Deal stuff. I mean, as far as, my experience with that, one of those issues, one of those topics that he mentioned, as far as that, a living wage. How important is a living wage to, it's hard to imagine how important it is unless you haven't had a living wage and you have to survive on less than that. Luckily, since I was young, I'm blessed to have, the job is in carpentry. I've been a member of the Midwest Regional Council of Carpenters since I was, right out of high school. So I was 17, I turned 18, and I was off to work. I was, I think started off, the apprentice wages are ready. They go up pretty quick. And I was, I had insurance before I even knew what it was. And I was very lucky. So I was, happy to always have that in my back pocket. Now, if everything came crashing down, I would still have that. So, and that's something I'll always be appreciative of.
It's a sense of security.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah.
So were you kind of a show-off in freshman woodshop? You jerk.
No, at wood shop.
Did you not have wood shop?
Yeah, I had wood shop, but we made the LTHS. Yeah. We made them out of joints. Do you remember the teacher?
Arrow?
What was his? Yeah.
I had Verbakis.
Oh, I had another guy. I can't remember his name.
I don't know why I remember.
An older white guy with glasses. It wasn't Verbakis. So I can't
Weren't they all though?
Oh yeah, right. Wood shop.
Guys. I mean, they'd all been there since and a lot of the teachers were still mad that there were dames in the school. I was only 15 years out from when it became co-ed.
Oh right. Yeah.
I graduated in '89.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy how short of a time span history is for us, isn't it?
Well, but Lane Tech, there's a couple things in my life that have been very impactful. And going to Lane, being a lifeguard at North Avenue Beach was something that's been very impactful and part of the city. I mean, Lane is iconic in the city of Chicago.
Absolutely.
It's still one of the top 5 schools. We're not number 1, but we weren't even. I don't know about you.
Depends on it depends on how you count. I think Lane Tech is definitely number 1 school.
I think so too. It's weird that the shop classes are all gone.
Absolutely weird.
Are your kids looking at Lane?
My daughter goes there.
Oh, she does?
Now,
yeah. Okay.
They don't have shop classes.
No.
I mean, some of the things that I learned in those shop classes, I still use to this day. So
yes, me too.
Absolutely, I don't do any, cast meddling. But
I was going to say, you had Foundry?
Yeah.
I didn't. There is no purpose to Foundry whatsoever. How often were you able to get every mold? Okay, for folks who don't know what Foundry is, you have to go into this room with a furnace, and there's a furnace master. Do you remember?
I don't recall.
It was like the guy who was in charge of the furnace. Ours was Jason Wilk, and you have to get these mounds of sand, pound them down with a shovel so they're as fine as possible, and then put a mold. It's hard to explain. Am I explaining this right?
No, there's like sand, and you got to make a cast. And then you gotta
pour molten metal in it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was the worst class. I'm sorry. You're giving me. I did not expect to go down this path of anxiety. It's as bad as the campaign, Joe. I'm kidding.
But you learn these different things. Like I learned in that class, I learned sand that I still could use today. Sandblasting something.
Right.
That's the only experience I've ever had, and it's easy.
Well, I never knew why more kids didn't have access to shop class, which is, it's great that it's a music room now. That's lovely.
Absolutely.
But, having your car conk out on the side of the highway,
right.
It'd have been nice to have some expertise in that.
Absolutely. I took auto shop for 2 or 3 years. I don't really recall what, but I just took the engine apart in my snowblower because it didn't work.
And you remembered it from shop class?
Yeah, I mean the snowblower still doesn't work, but I tried.
But you felt confident,
right? Because
of shop class at Lane Tech. Did you have Mr. Schaffness?
I don't recall. No. Was there more than one shop teacher?
Mr. Schaffness might not. He was at least 85 to 89. So I don't know about beyond that. But I also have a ridiculous mind.
Yeah,
I don't remember everything, but when I do, people are like, I can't believe you remember that. It creeps them out. I think because I have a sensory, like I remember things visually.
Okay.
So if I can see him, he had a comb over. Did he have a comb over?
No, he had glasses, kind of long hair.
Okay, see. Now you'll put it together. Yeah. So Joe, you became a carpenter. How long were you from when you became an apprentice and then decided to join the military?
Well, I turned into a journeyman carpenter when I was 22 years old. I think that same year, 9/11 happened, and I did like you. I wanted to join the Army right out of high school.
Yeah.
But I joined an apprenticeship. I got into the apprenticeship, so I did that. But then that feeling of wanting to join the Army never went away, really. So after September 11th, I was disturbed as the rest of America that we could be attacked in such a way. So I wanted to do my part,
You wanted to do something. Mm-hmm. Did I tell you that I couldn't join the military? My husband, I'll never forget being in my bedroom, like trying to figure out what I could do after 9/11. And Representative Stephanie Kifwit just mentioned the Coast Guard, and I think they have a higher age. Because I was a lifeguard, I thought, I could do the water thing. But ultimately, I ended up applying for the police department in 2001, for the Chicago Police Department. And they didn't call me up until I was 8.5 months pregnant.
Oh.
It takes a while to go through the process.
Oh, geez, yeah.
So when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about your career in the police. We don't have to talk. I know that I don't want to go too much into things that I know are hard right now, but we were talking to Representative Stephanie Kifwit about how veterans that are Democrats need to run. And you are a veteran, a Chicago police officer, a Democrat, a union member. I want to find out what's in store for Joe Duplechin next. But also want to talk a little bit more about our campaign. This is the weirdest thing.
And I can't wait to hear this text message that
you're like, I keep everything. Right?
I know you do. I know you do.
And you have nothing to be worried about.
I know.
Afraid. Don't be afeared of my texts, because you were very nice. You reached out to me before I reached out to you, but we'll talk about why I kind of ignored you the first time you texted me. You remember that, right? I completely ignored
when I
you.
texted. Well, we'll talk about it. Huh?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
We'll take a break here. 773-763-WCPT if you want to join the conversation, if you have any questions for me or for Joe. But I want to talk about why you decided to run for office and why other people should consider it. And we're going to talk about some of the bad things, but that's why I talk about them, so that what happened to us doesn't happen to anybody else. That's my goal. More after this on WCPT 820. We're driving it home.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT Willow Springs is powered by ComEd. Lower your energy bills and reduce your carbon footprint with the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago traffic update.
In Plainfield, US 30 is blocked both ways between 119th and Normantown Road with an injury accident. In Naperville, northbound Route 59 closed with an injury crash between North Aurora Road and Brookdale Road. Now, east I-80, all lanes are blocked between the Seneca Interchange and Route 47 with a rollover. Eden's Inn from Lake Cook Road 32 hitting the brakes at Oakton. Outbound at Dumpster, a crash off onto the shoulder. Montrose back up to Lake Cook and 16. Kennedy out to the split, a half hour, 22 in the express, 48 to O'Hare. Inbound from O'Hare also 48, 23 of that in from the junction. Ike outbound hour 5 from the Circle to 390. Stevenson outbound solid to Cicero. From DeSable Lakeshore Drive to 355 and 56. The Ryan out to 95th and 36. That's traffic. I'm Mary DeBadges.
Wendy's knows a better breakfast starts with a better biscuit. That's why you can get a hot and buttery Wendy's breakfast biscuit with bacon or sausage, fresh cracked egg, and cheese for just $1. Get your Wendy's Buck Biscuit sandwich today. Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Make our way down this open road. All regrets are left back in the dust. I'm okay to take the wheel while you draw so near. A time to rediscover and to trust. We needed this ride, waited for so long. I just want to make each second last.
That's Chris Jones with We Needed This Ride. You can go to chrisjonesgrass.com. Joe Duplechin joins me in studio, and Chris Jones was in our studio a few weeks ago. That album is now the #1 bluegrass album. I'm not saying that WCPT listeners helped, but thank you very much for your help.
It was a beautiful song.
It's so good. Joe Duplechin is a Northwest Side neighbor. He's my neighbor. And, bottom line, he's my neighbor. We became friends, I would say, more after our campaign. Joe and I were both candidates for the 19th District State Representative. And we were talking to Representative Stephanie Kifowit earlier, and she was talking about Democrats who are veterans or law enforcement. And the perception is that all cops and all veterans are more or less right-wing or conservative.
You know, I don't ask them all.
You don't ask them
so,
all?
I just know what I know.
Well, the fact that you were moved by Brian reading that Bill of Rights from the New Deal, a lot of those things speak to who you are as a Democrat.
Absolutely.
I know that when we were asked a lot of questions on the campaign trail about reproductive rights, you support choice. That was something that we were both attacked on.
Yes.
And that's the thing, is a mischaracterization. I mean, it's one thing when someone needs to make comparisons, right? The comparison isn't that we are discussing extremists. And somebody just asked who was more vicious in our campaign. Was it the women or the men? You were the only man in the race, and so the answer is it would be the woman in the race was wildly vicious. But before we get to any of that, so I want to know what inspired you to run. You first ran for 39th Ward alderperson. When did that sort of what was the catalyst for that? What was when you go, you know what, I would really like to help people in the neighborhood as their alderperson?
Really what it came down to is I've always been interested in service. People ask me that question, it's like, I go, why do you want to do this? I wish I could say, and I've tried to think of answers, just something that interests me. So, the opportunity came when, previous Alderman Loreno retired. And it was open. It was a spot, for the first time in a long time. I lived in the ward. So I said, why not? Obviously saying why not shouldn't be the first step in running for political office. And I learned that, through a bunch of experiences too. So, and that's, it wasn't basically just why not. I thought I would do a good job for the people, and I still do. Obviously I'll still do what I can, but I just wanted to give it a try. It's always been interesting, and it was not a bad experience. It was a bad experience, but it wasn't at the same time. As far as when I say bad experience, it's extremely stressful, extremely hard on family. It's extremely, friends, all that stuff. So,
I want to get to the stress part. I mean, with the 39th Ward aldermanic race, by the way, you had mentioned that every time you had to send out a mailer that your advisors had told you have to go this way, you have to do something that's negative, maybe more than you had wanted to. And you said you apologized to them. I just got a text from my advisors who were like, we hate negative mailers.
Really? Well, that's great. I wish that I, could...
Well, you actually did avoid going negative on me, and I appreciate that, and I know you had the opportunity to do so because you were offered an order of protection, the numbers associated with a case. When I was at my former employers, I had reported sexual harassment and abuse. I had submitted 6 pages of documentation cataloging everything that had happened with this employee, and in retaliation, during the investigation, that guy went to a courtroom and got an order of protection against me. And that was the only I kept telling my campaign, we should get ahead of this, we should diffuse it, we should talk about it. And everyone on my campaign was like, the only person we thought might use it might be you, but they were like, well, he doesn't want to seem like a guy who's coming after, but they tried giving you this, not you, but I know that people in your campaign have told me that they tried giving you this document early in the race, like in January.
Yeah, I was aware of your
my situation.
Yeah. So,
but without the full context, the problem was that Robert Martwick did know, because Robert Martwick helped me get out of it. He was the one that helped me get the lawyers. It was dismissed and vacated. I was never even served because it had no basis. Mm-hmm. And so I knew from 2 people in your campaign. They approached me and said, "Hey, just so you know, we got this copy from Robert Martwick's campaign, from someone in his campaign, and we're not going to go with it, but we just want you to know it's out there." And there wasn't anything we could do. We didn't have the resources.
Right. That's.
But that was when I first I felt bad because I knew you to. I didn't know you. I tried avoiding you. Did you notice that in the beginning?
Yeah, I think, and I remember you mentioned one time. Mm-hmm. We both said at some endorsement session that we both mentioned that we went to Lane.
Yeah.
And I think you thought I was like 28 or something like that.
I thought you were much younger, yes. Yeah, we were at I remember where we were. We were at SEIU doing our endorsement session. So for folks who aren't familiar with some of the elements of running for office, you might have a situation where all the candidates are presenting to a panel of people or a group of people. That would happen to be one of the unions. We each got to speak. And that was it weirder for you when we had to follow each other in that sort of situation?
I think I was used to it. I knew what was going to happen from the previous campaign, but so it didn't really.
So on November 7th, I was filling in here. Okay. I was filling in here at WCPT, and you texted, "I know a cop you guys can interview. LOL, just kidding. You're doing an awesome job."
Oh yeah, I heard you on the radio.
So I didn't know who you were. I just had a phone number come. I didn't have your phone. I didn't have your information. I just saw. I know a cop that I don't know where you got the number from. I'm not going to ask.
I don't even know where I got the number from.
Ask you, but I know a cop you can interview. LOL, just
Probably
kidding.
Just did some plea surveillance or something like that.
No, I know that there were people involved. So I just responded smiley face, thank you, which is what I do.
To random numbers.
Yeah. Because what had happened was I had started running way back. I have all the texts and back and forth between me and Senator Martwick because he was then the representative. He had told me that there was an opportunity to pursue the appointment for the Senate seat for the 10th district. Yeah. So, we'd gone through the process. I went through the appointment process. We can talk about that if we have time today, maybe some other time. But I was in that arena. I threw my hat in the ring for the Senate seat, and then things changed. He changed his mind. He went for the Senate seat, and then the representative appointment session happened, and I went through that process. So I'd been in it since April. Yeah. And then at the end of September, I get a text from Dave Feller saying, "Do you know this guy Duplechin or Martwick?" A bunch of people started telling me your name and talking about you, and I didn't know who you were. They were like, "He's a cop. He ran for alderperson." So we did some research on you. You still weren't collecting signatures as far as we knew. And then I got a phone call from Senator Martwick talking about you, and like for 45 minutes, I had him on speakerphone. I had just gotten off doors, and he wanted to talk, and he was talking about a post from a former Senator Dudzik. He was talking about all these things, and at the end of the conversation, he said, Joe Duplechin's going to run. It could be good for you, it could be bad. Like, that was kind of the thing, and whatever. I was like, okay. So the next day, I went to your neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, I knocked on all the doors. Yeah. I don't doubt it.
I spent like 3 weeks just all in Duplechin County. Like, I was all your neighbors. I didn't mention that you might be running.
People, you know?
They're really. Oh well, yeah. I was on a porch and I saw a name on the door, and they were about to close the door on me because they asked me if I was a Democrat, and I said, yeah, I'm a Democrat, and they were about to slam the door on me. I go, hey, any relation to Sean Arscott? And they were like,
you're from the neighborhood though, right? Yeah, right.
They were like, they pulled the door back open and they go, yes, that's our nephew. And I go, I went to Our Savior Lutheran Norwood Park with him. And that's what the doors, I loved doing the doors. But I was avoiding you.
Yeah,
I was trying to let you know that
you were out there.
You coming for me? Let's do this.
You want to know something? I had no clue, to be honest with you. So, but if it made you happy, I guess.
So then you, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to just touch on that appointment process. You know, the appointment process during the 19th district, you know, I reached out to, you know, all the committee people, including Senator Martwick, and, you know, all I can say is about my experience with him. He was always honest with me. I asked him, hey, do you think you could support me in this? He said, you know, Joe, I can't. So, I mean, he was always honest with me about what he said that he would do, and I did appreciate that. There's been, you know, and then since then we talk once in a while. I think I could say we're pretty good friends. But I do want to touch that people have told me, and people have made comments that during that campaign I was a spy for Senator Martwick. I hate to, you know, burst everybody's bubble. I was no spy. I was really trying to win. I thought I could win, but you know. And then another thing was that he supported me just enough to keep me in election so that Patti would win. If he was doing that...
To lose.
Right,
lose.
Sorry.
Yes.
To lose. If he was doing that, I can't reach inside his brain, but it would be pretty a good political... You know, I look at things...
Very nefarious.
Well, no, I look at things as good political strategy. Oh, that's a good move. You know, that's how I try to look at it.
Oh, you're saying that if that's what he was doing, it was a good move?
Yeah. So what do you... I mean, how else are you going to look at it?
I love that you're trying to turn it around as a compliment to Robert Martwick.
You know, I do these things so that I can live with it. Like, okay, ooh, that's a good move. Okay, now, you know... Now I'm in another district, not the 19th anymore.
You're not.
I said, "Ooh, that's a good move." That's the first thing I said. But it's not. I'm not angry about it or anything. You know,
they couldn't draw me out. I don't think. I mean, I'm sure that they were trying. They were like, "She's right in the middle."
Well, what do you say? Right, it's a good move. Hey, well done. You know.
Well, so your response to all the hijinks is, "Oh, nice move." See, we do have a different take.
I mean, otherwise, I just, you know, like you said, veteran. I do struggle with mental health issues. I'm not going to get too far into it, but you know, I'm not. I don't even know where to begin. But I say, so if I let these things affect me, they affect me, I would say, worse than they affect somebody else. So I have to deal with it in a way that allows me to move forward with it, you know? So this is the way I try to look at it as a strategy. Okay, they're doing this, oh, that's a good move. What can I do to either do something different? But like you said earlier, when it comes down to is the amount of, not necessarily money, but the ability to speak to a larger crowds. If you're able to get your message out, which eventually comes down to money, you know? If you're able to get that message out to a large enough group of people, then, you know, then you're good. That's why the doors are so important.
Right.
You said that was your favorite thing.
It was. It's like a different show every 30 seconds.
Goodness, I did terrible at doors.
You were fine. And that's another thing I want to talk about was a text you sent me while we were on the doors. But before I get to that one, you were just so sweet. You messaged me on December 10th. Congrats on getting on the ballot with no objections. It's a big deal because you had run before.
Right.
And I still continue to ignore you.
Really?
No, it's not true. You wrote, this is Joe Duplechin, by the way. We met at the Plumbers football game. We both went to Lane Tech, and we were running against each other.
I was just making sure you knew who I was.
Because I kind of like, yeah, whatever, whoever you are. And I wrote back, thank you for the message, Joe. Congratulations on getting on the ballot, too. But the night that you sent that, the day that you sent that, an article had just come out in the Chicago Magazine about my family, about my brother. And this is the thing that, for me, where I you're not supposed to make politics personal, and that's fine. If you don't, then are very strategic on the things that you can't make something that personal and then not take it personally. And you didn't know. Did you even care about my last name, about Bonin or Vasquez?
It didn't bother me, no.
Right. So I know I haven't talked about this too much on the show, but I have gone by Patti Vasquez professionally since 1994, and it was a very specific reason. My brother was murdered by John Wayne Gacy, and my last name Bonin was going to be in the papers again. And when I started my career, I did not want to have to answer to that or talk about it. I'm like, when you're talking about protecting your mental health, right, using strategy, and so I've had to find different elements, different tools. And for me, it was I still wanted to be Bonin to honor my family, my dad, my brother, and so I kept that name legally. It's on my driver's license, and Vasquez is my mother's maiden name, and also it helped me in stand-up comedy. Patti Vasquez sounds Irish and Mexican, and that's my background. So when I ran for office, I never changed my name. I've never changed my name on my driver's license. I've just had two very separate. Privately, I'm Patti Bonin, and publicly for everyone's consumption, I'm Patti Vasquez. And I talked to somebody outside. I don't know if we talked about this part, but I was at an event, and someone said, "I can't believe you're using your husband's name to sound white on the ballot." And I was like, what? I'm sorry, what? And they said, yeah, they're saying that's why you're using Bonin on the ballot, because I had to. It was Patti Vasquez Bonin. And I was like, I'm not. That's my legal name. And I wasn't going to tell them. That's something I've kept so close. Yeah, sure. I had friends that never knew. Like, I'm 50 and I had friends. I never talked about it.
No reason, right?
Right. And so, I started having, when you talk about, again, I want to find a place where people like you and me who have our things are life experiences. It should not be the things that debilitate or hold us back or eliminate us from being voices in Springfield on the General Assembly. You are a veteran. You've survived a lot. You're a police officer. We have stories to tell. I'm a survivor of homicide. I'm a survivor of rape. I have my life experiences. But the efforts to try to eliminate us based on those experiences is what I really want to push back against, so that we have more people who have important voices going forward are not traumatized in the way that I believe, not only for us, but people who have survived domestic violence are survivors of sexual assault. That's what I have issue with what happened in our campaign.
Sure, no, I think that, there's some of that definitely crossed the line. Like, if you insult someone on their policies or politics or things that they voted or didn't vote on, and that's one thing, but when you kind of stretching a little bit when you say, Patty or Joe won't stand up to this or that because we said so. I mean, at least have some kind of proof.
Well, and their proof for me was that, and this is on the record, Lindsay said this to the Natick newspapers, was that I had taken $500 from radio host Steve Cochran. That was the trigger for the...
Well, yeah, no, and then that was the same with mine. Like, my campaign had taken money from somebody donated money to somebody else who also donated to me, and then therefore I was tied to this third person.
Exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's just politics. Is it politics, though? I mean, I wish it wasn't, I should say, but it's. I mean, we could have done the same exact mailer with the other candidates.
Illinois Policy Institute, which is what money that Lindsay took, we could do the exact same extrapolation. Hates workers, wants, I mean, the extent to which you could make those. But again, that's not the direction we were going to go in. We wanted to go on what our strengths were. That's what you ran on, were your strengths. Let me take a break here. We are going to wrap up our conversation. We're talking to Joe Duplechin. I haven't finished my texts with you.
There's more.
It just cracked me up because at first I'm like, who's this? And then, like, I can see in our conversations, like, you were always really very kind, and that's why I wanted to have you in today.
Thank you.
More after this with Joe Duplechin. You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
If you're getting bad headaches during the day,
it might have to do with how well you're sleeping or not sleeping at night. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN's chief medical correspondent. People who experience migraines, and by the way, that's more than 1 billion people worldwide, they tend to get less REM sleep than people who aren't plagued by these debilitating headaches. But are they getting less REM sleep because of their propensity for migraines, or are they getting more migraines because they're getting less REM sleep? Well, that's exactly the question researchers at King's College London set out to answer in a new study. And while it does appear that there are some biological factors at play here, they wanted you to focus on what you can change, your sleep habits. That means getting the recommended amount of sleep each night, sticking to a regular sleep-wake schedule, and completely avoiding smoking and really limiting alcohol. Hope that helps. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Doesn't your family deserve the best? Eggland's Best Eggs. Classic, cage-free, and organic. Give you and your family more. More delicious, farm-fresh taste. Plus, superior nutrition. Compared to ordinary eggs, Eggland's Best provides 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, and 25% less saturated fat. These are no ordinary times, so why choose an ordinary egg? Only Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
In times of fear, World Vision is there for the most vulnerable. For the last 70 years, we've been standing with kids and families through natural disasters, war, and disease, delivering life-saving aid and helping rebuild lives. And with every act of courage, faith, and love, we do more than just stop the spread of fear. We replace it with hope. Learn more at worldvision.org.
Some more music from our friend Chris Jones, hanging out in the WCPT 820 studios with Joe Duplechin, who was the other candidate. And like I said earlier, I don't say we ran against each other because we didn't know each other before the race. It wasn't like I was running thinking, well, Joe's. And look, I wasn't even running saying that Lindsay was a terrible person at the time. I would 100% say that now. I know that a lot of people are like, well, she does really nice things. People always say that when it's not happening to them. So I understand and I appreciate their privilege of not having been traumatized by what happened. And I know for you and I, we had different experiences. And people accused me of bringing in NBC Channel 5 News. And they called me.
That was
me.
me.
You didn't bring them in. I thought they reached out to you guys and they were like, this is crazy.
We are on the air, correct?
Yes, you were the first person that they reached out to.
I mean, like I said, I'm not going to lie. Those mailers did have me face things that I really didn't want to face at the time. Deal with things that I didn't want to deal with. But I felt like I definitely had to.
You did it. You did such an elegant job, and by elegant I mean like that was not easy to have to do. What you did on NBC News.
It was difficult. It was difficult for me. I was very nervous too. I'm not a big TV star. Not yet, anyway. I still, maybe this will be my springboard, right?
There you go.
But I'm joking. Anyways, we try to use that strategy,
of talking about it, like trying to find some way to deflate it, because so the reason I was mentioning that I have these texts, I didn't know about the mailers. You sent me a picture of them. Do you remember that?
No.
We were you're so funny. It was Saturday, February 29th. It was 11:55 in the morning. You and I were both on doors. So for folks, there's a couple things I want to talk about as I'm saying it, because you and I have this vernacular when we talk about doing the doors. It's going door to door, and it's not just going door to door. It's going with a mission. And it's the best way to connect with voters.
Absolutely, yeah.
But you mentioned something that's really important for anyone that ever wants to run for office. You talked about meeting with all the committeemen that were involved in this district. It was after the appointment process, but you wanted to let them know you were running. You have to ask every single person for their support. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that process for you?
Well, I mean, it's not easy because first, you have to get their phone numbers from somebody first off.
These are the things people don't realize.
Yeah.
You got to call everybody.
Right. So you got to call your cousin who might know this guy who might get there. So or you leave a message. Maybe they call you back. Maybe they don't. But So you go through your process. You got to get the phone numbers. You got to, be able to answer whatever questions. And like I said, it was pretty. I came in, not maybe when you come in a state rep race, when they're almost going to make the appointment, it's a little too late to start making phone calls, I would say, for the most part. But I didn't know that, so I figured I'd try anyways. But
did you call before the appointment process? Because you were
I did.
You didn't present at the appointment session.
I didn't present it. But
you figured why?
No,
did you figure the deal was already done?
I just
that's a bit.
I'm trying to think of why I did figure the deal was already done, and I did. I just don't like that. I don't like that appointment process, so I didn't want to really be a part of it, especially
because
since,
giving your stamp of approval, kind of a thing, or.
Well, how am I going to say that if I did win that I was thinking like one of my things would be I don't like that appointment process. I don't think it should be allowed in the form that it's in, and I was going to maybe do something about it, but. It is you can't, and then the argument is special elections cost so much money. Well,
that was Lindsay's response at the endorsement session.
That's just hers. It's everybody.
Everybody says that. Yeah.
What's wrong with just finishing out your 2 years? And if you don't want to, announce it, and then,
Well, that's the thing, too, is we have not had the chance to talk about, I was going to talk about this with Representative Kifowit, is Majority Leader Greg Harris has announced that he will not run again. That's the way to do it, right?
That's what I was thinking today. That's what the topic brought. But, like I said, the process is what it is, and we just got to deal with that process for now.
Right.
So
I have a listener who just wanted to push back on the idea that what happened on those mailers is just politics. They're saying that this is especially when it comes to progressives and a progressive like Lindsay LaPointe. This is what we say Republicans do. Weaponizing the trauma of domestic violence survivors and rape survivors is so beyond the pale, and this is why I was talking about NBC News. When you sent me the mailer, do you remember I asked you to flip it over?
Yes.
I said, let me see the other side.
Right, I do remember that.
Why?
Now.
Do you know why I asked you?
Because you wanted to see who was paid by it for.
And who was it paid for by?
The representative's campaign.
Yeah, Lindsay LaPointe's campaign. Like yeah, I just remember that because you sent me the picture and it was you and I in these darker shots. And did you notice that I got darker and darker with each printing?
No.
Like my skin, like the shadows, you know what bothered me was that it said Bonin Vasquez with a hyphen. First of all, no hyphen. Second of all, Patti Vasquez Bonin, I guess. I don't know. I was like, okay, we're taking a lot of steps with this, but they wanted to highlight Vasquez, is what it reads like to me. I have not spoken to the rep because she has never reached out to me. I called her the day after we were not successful, and I've never heard from her. But yeah, that was the thing, was that it was paid for by her campaign. People don't know about independent expenditures. You can find out who's paying for these messages by looking at the fine print.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Like, my stance, like I mentioned earlier, I don't agree with the extent that one went, but, at the end of it, I apologized for some of the things that I said as well. To be honest with you, I was kind of pushing back against my team because I didn't want to send negative mailers. I didn't want to send. I was like, it makes me feel bad. What the hell do I gotta? Sorry if I said. You're
fine.
But it's like, why do I gotta send these? I think I don't want to do that. And then I got that one. I was like, hey, I know. Let's go send some out there.
That's what triggered the mailers. Was if you're gonna, absolutely. Because it was, and again, it's to say it's just politics. It is the politics of, because you lower the bar. You now make it harder for somebody else who maybe has had domestic violence in their lives, be afraid that they're going to be on a mailer, having been the survivor or a sexual assault, and go, why would I want my life? Because I had to say I'm a survivor. I have spent decades raising money and awareness and elevating the message of survivors, rape survivors, domestic violence survivors, and making sure there's a platform for everyone to have a voice. So this was silencing to me. And so this person says progressives should be above this, or not just in word, but in deed as well. Mm-hmm. So that's...
I think speaking to her, I think that she's more experienced now. I don't think she would do that again like that. So maybe she learned her lesson as well, as far as this particular mailer, I would say. And then one more thing that we touched on. Oh, shit.
That's okay.
There's so many things we got to touch on.
I don't know if you said the S word or no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's how I think when I'm trying to think of something. But Joe, let's do this. Can you, if you remember it, write it down, because I want to do a two-parter on this.
Oh,
we come back and have another conversation. We don't have to talk about this campaign either. I want to talk about how we encourage more people to run, to have their voices heard. And again, I'm so grateful to know you, to have run with you in an important race.
And one last thing I want to say in all these negative mailers, we talk about, how they affected us, how we can move on from that, but she won,
Using negative mailers.
That's what I mean.
So people follow them. I get attacked by someone who just reads them online and says, "What about this?" No, that's what the mailer said. I've answered the question. You and I have both answered the question. Have a great evening. Happy holidays,
Thank you
Joe.
for having me, Patty.
My best to your
I really
family.
appreciate it.
Of course, you got to get home and make dinner. Bye, everyone. We'll talk to you tomorrow. I'll be on for Joan again at 2:00. Be well, happy, healthy, and safe, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's Dell Technologies' biggest business sale of the year with Cyber Monday deals on Windows 11 PCs. Call 877-ASK